All right, you magnificent bastards. Let's cut the crap and dive right into some royal bullshit. We're talking Princess Di. The woman's so iconic, she's still making headlines from beyond the grave. Decades after kicking the bucket, she's more relevant than all the Kardashians combined. So we're going to use Princess Di's Wikipedia page as a guide for this deep dive. Buckle up, buttercups, because we're going to unpack the real story, not the fairy tale they tried to sell you.
Diana's life. It was a total shitstorm. Glamour, tragedy, and enough drama to make Shakespeare shit a brick. She was worshipped, she was manipulated, and she died before she even hit 40.
Fucked up, right?
Yeah. Makes for one hell of a story, though.
So let's rewind to the beginning. Turns out little Diana was a goddamn blue blood. Born with a silver spoon so far up her ass it probably tickled her tonkles. Her family, the Spencers, they were like those creepy stalker fans that camp out in front of Buckingham Palace.
Oh, absolutely. The Spencers were aristocracy through and through, centuries of history with a direct line to the crown, deeply embedded in their whole world of privilege and tradition.
Yeah, but get this. Her parents were so pissed off about not having a male heir that they put Diana's mom through a bunch of humiliating medical tests. Talk about pressure to pop out a little prince.
Well, it really just highlights the obsession with lineage and bloodlines that permeates the British aristocracy, A male heir was, and to some extent still is, seen as essential for carrying on the family name.
And inheritance, right?
Exactly. So the pressure on women to produce a son was immense, even for families as close to the royals as the Spencers.
It's fucked up, right? Imagine growing up with that hanging over your head, like, you better have a dick or you're a disappointment. Anyway, young Diana, despite being born into this whole aristocratic circus, wasn't exactly a genius. She failed her O-levels, those big exams you take in England, twice.
The fact that Diana struggled academically might surprise some people, given, her later intelligence and social savvy, but it just reinforces that she wasn't just a product of privilege. She had her own strengths and weaknesses.
True. And it probably made her more relatable to all those commoners she ended up championing later in life.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of which, did you know she worked as a nursery teacher before becoming princess? Talk about a career change.
That's a detail that's often overlooked. She wasn't some pampered princess locked away in a tower. She had a real job, she interacted with ordinary people, and she got her hands dirty, literally with finger paint and all that.
Which probably gave her a much more grounded perspective than all those other royal twats who wouldn't know a commoner if one bit them on the ass.
Right.
And you know what? It made her a total anomaly when she landed Prince Charles. I mean, marrying a commoner was a radical departure from tradition, especially for the heir to the throne.
It hadn't happened in centuries. That's why the public went absolutely batshit crazy for Diana.
Oh, yeah. Diana mania. It was like Beatlemania, but with tiaras and charity galas.
Everyone was obsessed with this seemingly normal girl who'd snagged the future king.
She represented a break from the stuffy, old-fashioned image of the monarchy. People saw her as like a breath of fresh air, or someone they could relate to. And let's be real, the wedding dress didn't hurt. That thing was epic.
The wedding dress was a cultural phenomenon in itself. It cost a whopping £9,000.
No shit.
Yeah. Which, by the way, would be over £43,000 today.
An insane amount of money, even for royals.
Oh, yeah.
And it sparked a global fashion frenzy. Everyone wanted to be Princess Di, even if it meant looking like a giant meringue on their wedding day. But as we all know, that fairy tale wedding was just the beginning of a total shit show.
Right. The marriage was a disaster from the start. Charles and Diana were fundamentally incompatible. Different interests, different values, different personalities. Plus, let's not forget the elephant in the room, Camilla Parker Bowles.
Ah, yes, Camilla, the other woman. The one Charles couldn't keep his royal dick in his pants for. It's enough to make you lose faith in fairy tales,
Well, Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla definitely cast a long shadow over the marriage, and it's clear that both Charles and Diana were deeply unhappy.
Unhappy. They were miserable as fuck. The press even nicknamed them the Glums because they looked like they wanted to die every time they were seen together.
The constant media scrutiny only magnified the problems in their relationship. Every argument, every awkward glance, every rumored affair, it was splashed across the tabloids. It was a pressure cooker environment.
No wonder the marriage imploded.
Exactly.
And implode it did, but not before giving us enough drama to fuel a whole season of The Crown.
Well, the breakdown of their marriage was very public and very messy, with accusations of infidelity, bulimia, and even suicide attempts.
Yeah, it was a royal shitstorm of epic proportions. But even with all that baggage, Diana managed to become a global icon in her own right. She was more than just Charles's wife. She was a force of nature, a woman who used her platform to champion the underdog and basically tell the establishment to go fuck itself.
Diana wasn't content to just sit around and look pretty. She used her platform to bring attention to issues that were often ignored by the royal family, and the media for that matter.
Yeah, she was a total badass when it came to charity work. She didn't just write checks and show up for photo ops. She got her hands dirty, literally and figuratively.
Her hands-on approach to philanthropy, it was groundbreaking. She hugged AIDS patients when people were still terrified of the disease, walked through minefields to raise awareness, basically told the old-school royals to shove their outdated protocols up their asses.
She was a rebel with a cause, and the people fucking loved her for it. They called her the People's Princess for a reason.
Her work with AIDS patients, it was particularly significant. At a time when there was so much fear and misinformation surrounding the disease, Diana publicly challenged the stigma.
Right?
By hugging and touching patients, it's a powerful message of acceptance and compassion.
It's wild to think that even shaking hands with an AIDS patient was considered controversial back then.
Oh, absolutely.
But Diana didn't give a shit about the bullshit. She did what she thought was right, even if it pissed off the stuffy old guard.
It was a radical departure from the traditional, detached approach of the royal family at the time. Diana connected with people on a human level, regardless of their status, their illness, their struggles.
And speaking of struggles, let's get back to that shit show of a marriage. Things went from bad to worse pretty damn quick.
The cracks in the fairy tale facade were becoming impossible to ignore. Rumors of affairs on both sides. The media was having a field day with every salacious detail.
It was like a royal soap opera, with everyone tuning in to see who would screw who next.
Right. The pressure on both Charles and Diana was immense. I mean, they were living their lives under a microscope, every move scrutinized and analyzed.
And then came the bombshell, the Panorama interview.
Oh, yeah.
Diana spilled the tea on everything, talking about her bulimia, self-harm, Charles's affair with Camilla.
Right.
And she even questioned his ability to be king. Damn, she didn't hold back.
Well, that interview was a turning point, not just for Diana, but for the monarchy itself.
For sure.
It exposed the dysfunction and unhappiness behind the polished facade of the royal family.
It was a massive fuck you to the establishment. It sent shockwaves around the world. People were glued to their TVs, watching this seemingly fragile princess take down the future king, and the entire royal family, for that matter.
The public sympathy was largely with Diana. She was seen as the victim, the wronged wife, who was brave enough to speak her truth.
But let's not forget, Charles had already publicly confessed to rekindling his romance with Camilla.
Oh, absolutely.
It was like a slow-motion train wreck, with everyone watching in horror as the marriage imploded.
And the media, of course, played a huge role in amplifying the drama. They hounded Charles and Diana relentlessly, fueling the frenzy with every photograph and every rumor.
It's no wonder they were both messed up. Imagine living under that kind of scrutiny 24/7. It's enough to drive anyone batshit crazy. And eventually, it all became too much.
In 1996, Charles and Diana finally divorced. It was a messy and expensive affair. Diana walked away with a settlement of £17 million, but she lost the title of Her Royal Highness.
Losing that title must have stung, even though she got to keep her fancy jewels and could still fly on private jets. It was a symbol of the power and status she'd lost, even though, she gained freedom from that stifling marriage.
Despite the divorce and the loss of her royal title, Diana remained a global icon. She continued her charity work, championing causes like AIDS awareness and landmine eradication, with even more passion and dedication.
She basically said, screw you to the royal family, and went on to do her own thing. She was dating a heart surgeon named Hasnat Khan. She called him Mr. Wonderful, apparently.
There were also rumors of a relationship with Dodi Fayed, the son of Egyptian billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed.
Yeah, Dodi, the playboy who ended up dying with her in that tragic car crash. It's still hard to believe that it's been over 2 decades since that happened.
August 31st, 1997. Diana and Dodi were in Paris, being chased by paparazzi when their driver lost control of the car and crashed in a tunnel.
It was a horrific accident that shocked the world. The People's Princess dead at 36. This is fucked up,
The world went into mourning. Millions of people around the globe were devastated. It was a massive outpouring of grief for a woman who, despite all the drama and scandal, had touched so many lives.
The funeral was a global event, watched by billions. Tony Blair, the prime minister at the time, even called her the People's Princess.
Yeah. Her death sparked a lot of conspiracy theories. Some people believe she was murdered, that the crash was no accident. but the official investigation concluded it was just a tragic accident, a combination of a drunk driver and reckless paparazzi.
Yeah, those fucking paparazzi, always pushing the limits, always invading people's privacy. It's a reminder of the dark side of fame and the price that's often paid for being in the public eye.
Diana's death raised important questions about the role of the media, the ethics of paparazzi, and the relentless pursuit of celebrity gossip.
It's a shitty legacy, but it's part of her story. Diana's life was a whirlwind of contradictions. She was shy, yet charismatic, rebellious, yet compassionate, flawed, yet deeply loved.
She was a woman who defied expectations, challenged traditions, and ultimately left a mark on the world that few others have been able to match.
So we've talked about how Diana flipped off the royals and became a global icon, but let's talk about her style. The woman was a goddamn fashion assassin.
Diana's fashion choices, they were often seen as rebellious, especially in the context of the traditionally conservative royal family. She wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
She used clothes as a weapon, and the press ate it up. Remember that black sheep sweater she wore to a polo match? It was like a giant middle finger to the royal family. And don't even get me started on that revenge dress.
The revenge dress is the perfect example of how Diana used fashion to control the narrative. The same night Charles publicly admitted to his affair with Camilla, there she was.
At a Vanity Fair gala.
Exactly, making a bold statement of independence and defiance.
That dress was a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
Sleek, sexy, and totally inappropriate for a royal. It was like she was saying, yeah, my husband cheated on me, but I'm still hot as fuck and I'm moving on.
It challenged the whole idea that a woman should be ashamed or hide away after a divorce. Diana chose to embrace her sexuality, her power.
And let's not forget her jewelry. That sapphire engagement ring is now worn by Kate Middleton.
William's wife.
Yeah, talk about a legacy piece.
That ring is one of the most famous pieces of jewelry in the world. It's a reminder of Diana's enduring impact
On the royal family.
and popular culture.
It's like a symbol of the torch being passed from one rebellious princess to another. But Diana's legacy goes beyond fashion and jewelry. She changed the way people viewed the monarchy, brought attention to important social issues, and showed the world that even princesses are human, with all their flaws and complexities.
She challenged the whole traditional stiff upper lip image of the royals and showed that it was okay to be vulnerable, to express emotions, and to fight for what you believe in.
She was a real person, not just a fairy tale princess. She had her demons, her struggles, her fuck-ups. But that's what made her so relatable and so inspiring.
Her life was a reminder that we're all human, even those who seem to have it all. We all have our struggles, our insecurities, our moments of triumph and despair.
Diana showed us that it's okay to be messy, to be flawed, to be different. And she taught us that even when life throws you a curveball, you can still come out swinging.
Her legacy is a complex one, full of contradictions and unanswered questions. But one thing is certain. Diana's impact on the world is undeniable. She was a force of nature, a woman who defied expectations and changed the game. And even decades after her death, her story continues to fascinate and inspire us.
So there you have it, folks, the real story of Princess Di. The good, the bad, and the absolutely fucked up. She was a royal pain in the ass, a fashion icon, a humanitarian, and a woman who captivated the world.
Love her or hate her, you can't deny that Diana was a one-of-a-kind phenomenon. She broke the mold, challenged the status quo, and left an indelible mark on history.
Who knows what she would have accomplished if she hadn't died so young? Maybe she would have become a global leader, a social media queen, even the goddamn president. The possibilities are endless.
We can only speculate, but one thing's for sure. Diana's legacy continues to inspire us to be more compassionate, more courageous, and to never back down from a fight.
So raise a glass to the people's princess. A woman who dared to be different, who fought for what she believed in, and who reminded us that even behind the crown, there's a beating heart.
Cheers to that. And may her memory continue to inspire us to be a little less shitty and a lot more like the badass she was.
Yeah.